Cafe Latino. As every month, I'm looking forward to this moment. Today I have a special, very special guest. Everything is around children, teenagers, but especially about education. So I decided to invite somebody who knows a lot about education. Elizabeth Schultz, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Elizabeth Schultz, you are a board member of the Fairfax
County School Board.
County School, and thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here.
So, education is a big issue for all the parents that are watching us today. And this is why I want to invite you. You have been in the school board for a long time and in different committees before that. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure. I was first elected in 2011. And so it's been almost 8 years that I've been on the school board. I was reelected in 2015. We served for 4-year terms. And before that, I was on the Fairfax County Education Council, and we were doing, advocacy for education for parents, advising on issues that we didn't feel like the Fairfax County School Board was really necessarily paying attention to.
Yes.
And so then I finally decided to run myself, and that was as a result of Fairfax County closing my children's elementary school.
Oh, wow.
And closing a school is
Yes.
a very emotional experience for a community,
Yeah, of course.
to lose their school, and you don't have a neighborhood school anymore. And we ended up submitting freedom of information requests to get emails and communication about what the board, why the board made that decision.
Of course.
And it was, they were not talking very nicely in their emails about parents,
Yes.
about children, about employees, the teachers. And I just had the idea, okay, somebody needs to run who's normal and will be nice to
Yes.
to the children and advocate for families.
So, to that point, let's go back a little and tell us a little about yourself. Well, did you born here in Virginia?
So I was actually born here in Virginia, although I didn't stay very long. My dad was in the Navy, and so we moved an awful lot. And that's one of the things that gives me a lot of connection to all of the military children, as I understand what they went through. I lived all over the country. I spent actually about half my life in San Diego, and living in other places. But then I came back here after graduating from high school in San Diego. I went to James Madison University, and after I graduated, I actually got married a short time later to somebody I had met at JMU.
Look at that.
Actually, tomorrow is our 28th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So, and we have 4 boys who have been in Fairfax County Public Schools. I have a college graduate. I have a college junior. A high school senior who's getting ready to graduate this year, but I also have a 11-year-old who's in 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to be very long invested in Fairfax, both from my past, and I'm not going away for a while. So
it's very interesting. I've been part of the Fairfax County Public Schools I have 2 sons, and my son is now in college. He finished college, working now, and my other one is finished this year in high school to go to Virginia Commonwealth. So one of the things, I'm part of the PTA, and learning with other parents, I told them I would invite you. So they sent me a list of questions that they wanted to solve today. So that would be a little different.
I don't know if we'll solve them, but I'll certainly do my best.
One of the things when talking with parents, they really don't understand the school board. So what really does the school board?
Right. So yeah, a lot of people don't even, unless you're really paying a lot of attention, you don't know who are these people, how do they get there. So
and what they do.
And what they do, exactly. And so Fairfax County government basically is divided into 2 halves. The county side, which is the Board of Supervisors, and then the school board. And people elect, this is an election year, people elect in their district where they live. There's 9 districts in Fairfax County, so they can elect one person at the district level, and then they actually have 3 more votes.
Wow.
Every person in Fairfax County can vote for a third of the school board because there are 12 people. So you vote for a district member and then 3 at large.
Okay.
So we have 12 people on the school board, 1 for every of the 9 districts, and then 3 people, the top 3 vote getters, get on at large. And then we're responsible to govern and oversee as stewards the school system. We hire the superintendent. We also have a couple of other employees, an auditor and the clerk of the school board, but the main role is to hire and oversee the superintendent and his operations of the school board. And it's actually a lot of money. The money that gets raised by the supervisors and the taxes, more than half of it actually is transferred to the school system.
So that is a question that the people are asking. So who pays? Who pays everything? So it comes from the taxes that the people pay. About 53, 54%?
Yeah, it's about 53% of the county's budget gets
the taxes?
transferred right over from the property taxes that people pay. And if they're a homeowner, they know they're paying those property taxes.
Yes.
And if you're a renter, that's built into your rent is those taxes. So if your rent is high, it's because the taxes keep increasing. And then the rest comes from the state, but that's just your state taxes that you pay to Virginia being sent back here, and then a very small, a tiny amount comes from the federal government. That's your federal taxes coming back. So really, the people who live in Fairfax County basically 100% fund public education.
That is something so important that the people didn't know, and it's important to tell them. So neither way, you may not have children, because what I see a lot is there are a lot of people older that don't have children. So, do you know how many people really?
Right. So we have about 1.1 million people in Fairfax County, but 75% of them do not have children currently in the school system.
I can't believe that.
Now, they may have had in the past,
of course,
or they may not have children at all, or their children may be in private school, or they may be homeschooling. But the 75% who don't have children in the school system, their money is still there.
Absolutely,
they're paying even though their children aren't there. No, it's good because it provides home value and quality of life. But the question is, are you paying attention to how your money is being spent?
That is something very important. Clarita Marshall is a friend of mine. She asking about this. Is a really open-minded board to listen to the public? So the public sometimes has questions, like you were not in the board, you wanted to answer questions, and they have this open mic, the people can go there. They're wondering if it's really listen, because they feel like the people go there to talk, and they never listen to them. What do you have anything to say about this? Engagement, engagement with the public, the board really engaged. So what we can do?
Yeah, I can see that that's a big concern. When I hold town halls or community office hours, it is definitely something that I hear a lot, is they say, well, do I bother? Will they even listen to me? Or there have been times where there have been big community efforts to provide information, and the board has done the opposite. And really, we can do what we want. I mean, we're not beholden, even when there's a huge community cry for something. And people need to pay attention to, and really, I think, even up the advocacy even more. If you feel like you aren't being listened to, don't give up. Try even harder to get us to listen, because really the public is our boss. The organization chart puts the public at the top, and then us, and then the superintendent. So we should be listening. I don't think that we always do a good job as the collective 12. Because anything that has to happen with the board, the magic number is 7. If you don't have 7 votes for something, nothing happens. So if some people don't want to, listen to a public outcry on something, well, if they have 7 votes, they don't have to.
So that is a big issue. So I think something that don't give up. So you
don't give up.
So continue. I feel a little sad sometimes about the teachers. The teachers were so hard. My mother, my sisters were my mother was a teacher, my sisters are teachers, and I saw how they work. They come back home and still checking homeworks. So they work so extremely hard. And now they work more since now everything is in internet, no? They have to really, not only have to learn what they know, they have to be learn more. So about the teachers, I talk with these teachers, he says, Laura, it's so hard to be a teacher now. It's very stressful. Not only because you come home and continue working, it's just a lot of stress. The school board is doing something about listen to the teachers, working with the teachers.
Yeah, I will tell you that until you really pay attention to what's happening with teachers, you not understand how hard they're working, how many hours outside of their contract, because they're contracted to work a certain number of hours, and they give so much more.
I know.
With the grading and working with students after school. I mean, they really do have a tremendous workload, and with all of the digitizing of curriculum, it's like they have to have, not only do they have to be professionally up on their skills in their curriculum, but now they have to have professional development in all of this technology as well.
Exactly.
And whether or not the board really is taking into account sort of the workload concerns of teachers, I would say that we're not necessarily focused on that. We are trying to improve salaries, but the only reason we're trying to improve salaries is because for so long, more than 7 people on the school board for, dozens of years haven't corrected it. So now you're behind. And so we're having to play catch up while also stressing teachers out with lots of initiatives. And so what I think we need is a school board really that pulls back on some of the initiatives and trusts more on the teachers. They know the children in their classroom. They know what they need, and I think they're the professionals in education for delivering that. We just need to do the oversight part and not put more on their shoulders.
Yeah, well, going back to the teachers, one of the things I observed lately is I have my first son, I always come home with books, the book of math, the biology, etc. And now my second son that is finished high school, when we try to help him, we don't have a book. So my son says, oh, Mom, the book is online. We go online, and it's really, really hard to, it's not the same as have a book and to go back different pages. So my husband and son, they spend hours and hours going online to try to figure out this calculus. He and I were engineers, but we forgot how to do things. It was almost impossible to help him. So I don't understand in what moment they transition from books to books online. So I think it's something that I would love they come back to books so the parents, we can help our own kids.
Yeah, I do. I think, so I've experienced, my oldest son is turning 24 next week, and my youngest son just turned 11. And in just that, not even a generation, but just, one generation of my own children, I have seen a radical change in what we used to know as parents, what our children were learning, versus now it seems like there's almost like an effort to put the school between the parents and the child by not allowing us to understand what is my child learning, what did they learn today, what are they supposed to learn tomorrow, how can I help them, and sitting down with them with their textbook and being able to go through the materials with them and help them with their homework, or at least understand what they're learning, is something that has disappeared in public education. And it's an enormous problem that you're asking parents to access something online, and what kind of computer do they have? Do they have a computer? Do they have internet? How many children do they have? Some of my constituents, they have not 1 or 2 children, they have 7 children. How do you sit down on a computer with all that time? And then that's just more screen time for children, and less family time, less extracurricular activity time for children. So it's a big concern for parents that I think they do need to, again, not give up on their advocacy. If they feel like, look, I can't understand what my child is learning because you don't give me the materials. That's a parent right issue, and I do think we need to increase parent rights.
So coming back to parent rights, I know this is a topic that is for a long time, but it's talking about the family education life.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I have a lot of people, especially minorities, that they receive a lot of papers in their own languages, in Farsi, in Korean, and in Spanish. But it's very interesting how everything that we wanted to, family life education, that is all around how we would teach sex, is mainly sex, or what is the specific family life education? Well, the point is you receive this paper in English, and because you're rushing, you don't read, you just sign it. And my point is, when I received this paper, I really didn't understand what was family life education, so I tried to investigate more. It was really hard to go through the webpage, but when I began to read, I learned that my son was being taught about things that very explicit and graphic, that for me was something that I will never teach my son when he was in elementary or middle school, or maybe final the high school when he's senior. So I'm worried that we received this paper and it's not in the language. Like, I have the opportunity because I can read, but parents that don't speak Spanish, they don't know what they're signing, and the paper maybe should be asking the people, do you want your kid in to take these classes, and not put it out? Because I really don't know exactly where I need to put it out. Can you tell us a little about that? I know it's a topic that has been talked so much
Right,
about.
it has been talked a lot about,
Yeah.
but again, so many families in Fairfax County, because of the cost of living,
Yeah.
you have parents who each have a job, or they may have more than one
Yes.
job, or you may have a single parent household, and if you are two parents and you're English speaking and you're educated,
Yes.
it's already hard. It's already
Yes.
hard to access
Yeah,
all of the
absolutely,
information
yeah.
about your children's curriculum, particularly when it comes to sensitive matters. Like,
Yes.
it's euphemistically called family life education.
Yes.
Really, what it is sex education.
That's the point.
And so we don't call it what it is.
Exactly.
You're under a lot of stress. We're the worst traffic in the nation. So everybody has less and less time, and they're working harder. How much more difficult is it, if English isn't your native language,
Yes.
if you're working more than one job, if you're a single parent household, to be able to delve into things that are really, they may have to do with your cultural values
Exactly.
or your religious values, or you just may say, you know what, that's a topic I want to cover at home. But the further we take it away from, your native language, or, making it easily understood what your child is learning, the harder it is for the parent to exercise their rights. So if they don't even know what their children are learning,
That's
or
it.
what the information says, now you're at a place where you've just overwhelmed parents with, sort of euphemistic language that, well, this, it's just about family life. You just need to, just sign that it's family
Exactly.
life. And who's going to say, oh, well, family life, yeah, we like family, and we like life, so family life and education.
Yeah.
Education is good, so parents sign it without really understanding what it is. And at least we've put it online.
Yes.
Like before, that was a huge struggle. That was a battle on the school board,
I'm
where
glad
you
that-
used to have to go to the school and sit in the library to look at the
Oh, my
materials. But it's still an overwhelming thought
Yeah.
to ask every parent to read all that material online and to understand what their children are learning. So we need to be better and more transparent.
Yeah, so that is something very important. But one other thing that I was talking with I was in the library. I'm still going to libraries. I'm the old style. I go
Yeah.
to look for my CDs. And we were sitting down there and we were talking about our kids. And she was really, really freaking out, really. She's from India. And she said, I can't believe it. I come to this country, legally, to everything. And I see my kids in trailers. And she was in shock. I just, it's trailers, and I see my kids coming. They want to go to the bathroom. They have to go out of the trailer. And in this process, I feel that there's no security around the trailers. And what happens is something bad person arrives. So she's really worried about the trailers, and also the fact that the classrooms with the students, they are really big. The size are really big. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so that's another, a certain group of people have been in charge of the school board for a very long time, and planning for who's going to come, in the capital sense, capital meaning, your facilities, is something that has been neglected for a long time. We are, and have been for a very long time, a growing county. I've lived on and off in Fairfax County since the very early 70s.
Wow.
So when there was no 66, when there was no Fair Oaks Mall, there was no Metro.
There are no Tysons.
But we're going to grow, so we should have been planning all along. And instead, the school board's been very neglectful of planning where the growth will happen and then having brick and mortar schools. And so the answer has been, well, we're going to temporarily house children in a trailer out back or on the side or in the front of the school. And that becomes, the temporary becomes the permanent answer. And now children in one of the wealthiest counties in the nation are going to school in almost 800 trailers a day. And the question is that, after Parkland, the terrible shooting there, do you want a school board to focus on children learning in a brick and mortar classroom where they don't have to go 2 by 2 to the restroom, because then you're losing education time as well. So this is not an optimal, not only learning environment, it's not an optimal teaching environment. So that means all of those teachers are also having to teach in a trailer. And I think the facilities has long been a focus of mine. It's part of my professional background. And elevating the need to direct the capital monies correctly in this county, when we have over 1 million square feet of children in temporary facilities, is a passion of mine, and I think we've got to get right, because it isn't fair, and it isn't fair because then that means that children are in very, very large classes in some areas of the county. Now, in other areas of the county, they're in tiny classrooms, and that's an equity problem. They like to talk a lot about equity, but what does equity mean? And is it fair that every single classroom is at a max in one school, and then we have very tiny classes in another? Does it even translate necessarily to a better education? And it certainly isn't a better education when the teacher is stressed, for the maximum amount of children allowed in his or her classroom.
So let's talk a little about equity. Something that is very interesting, I was reading that Fairfax County has the nation's largest school bus transportation fleet. I was in shock. I don't understand how can be the largest bus transportation fleet. It really, I see tons of schools very close to the neighborhoods,
Right. Well, this is a problem. So we're 400 square miles in Fairfax County, and so some areas, most children do walk, but in other areas, no children can walk because they're far from their schools. And this is, again, a planning issue and an oversight issue. We're putting 18.5 million miles on the roads that have the nation's worst traffic, and children are spending long amount of time. Not only are people commuting to work, children are commuting to school. And I think that this needs to be the focus of the next school board, to reduce stress on not only the roads and traffic, but also on stress for children.
Absolutely. So I believe you have been doing an amazing job for 8 years, supporting the community. Listen, I know because the people says you're doing a great job. So here in Café Latino, we want to recognize you. So we want to give you a certificate of recognition for your 8 years of work. So this is a knowledge that Elizabeth Schultz has been recognized for outstanding work as the FCPS Springfield Board member. Congratulations.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much.
In the name of so many people in the community.
Well, I value this very much, and I greatly appreciate the invitation to come and share the message to an even greater audience who have a lot of questions about education in Fairfax County.
Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to invite you again, because I think we can talk forever. We are arriving to the final hour show, and I was always sad because it's half an hour and it goes so fast. So Elizabeth Schultz has answered a lot of the questions that I received. But one thing I learned today is if you as a parent has an issue, you have never get up. So organize with other parents, go to the board meetings, and knock the doors, talk, organize, and speak. And represent your kids, represent your sons, your daughters, your granddaughters, and nieces, because neither way you live in this area and you don't have kids, you represent a lot. So put attention what is going on in the board. And Elizabeth says, this year is going to be elections on November 5th. Please go to vote and select a new board that maybe can listen better than the one is here. We'll see you.